Dude, if you're all devastated because that woman gave you the cold shoulder, your wife or girlfriend cooled off on you, or that woman you were almost winning over simply disappeared, relax. Seriously, smile now, because today we're going to turn this game around. While you were there drowning in thoughts and regrets, what you didn't realize is that there is a secret, a true male superpower, capable of completely turning the script around. And no, it has nothing to do with being handsome, rich, or having a six-pack. I'm talking about the strength that comes from within, strategic indifference. Before we move on, it's time to stop just consuming high-value content without actually being part of the change. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of the next videos. Yes, that's the only request I have of you. For you, it's just one click, but for me, it's what makes me change the lives of more and more noble warriors. This ruthless machine called the YouTube algorithm is relentless. It only respects numbers and only delivers content to more people in this way. Without further ado, let's get to the content. Today you will understand the almost supernatural power of indifference that attracts any woman in an almost inevitable way. Most guys go around losing themselves by trying too hard to please, trying to conquer in desperation, and giving everything away on a silver platter. Little do they know that this thirst for female validation is exactly what keeps them from achieving their goal. There is an ancient philosophy that few apply, but that transforms ordinary men into true magnets of attraction, STOICISM. And no, it is not about becoming a robot without feelings. It is about understanding that the center of your life should be your purpose, and not your wife's approval. Let's be real. Every time you go out of your way to please a woman who doesn't care, you lose value. You can see that. The more you show yourself to be present, insistent, and available, the less attention you get. There's a name for this, my friend. The theory of psychological reactance. The human mind values what is scarce, rare, and runs away from what is too easily given away. Now remember your last interactions with that woman you wanted to win over. Did you respond to her messages within seconds? Did you give up your plans to be available? Did you shower her with compliments and attention, and what happened? I bet she disappeared, or at most, put you in the dreaded friend zone. The explanation is simple. By showing that she is your absolute priority, you are revealing that you don't have many options. And female biology, my friend, seeks the guy who has social value, the one who is desired, who leads, who has presence. Now think about how much time you've wasted racking your brains, trying to understand mixed signals, wondering whether to persist or disappear. Now imagine if there was a turning point, a way to turn everything around and make her the one who starts chasing you, pursuing you, seeing you as a prize. In the next few minutes, you will discover the 4 pillars of true magnetic attraction. A rare thing that almost no one teaches you, but that separates ordinary men from the guys who really dominate the game. If you are tired of being just another guy who tries and fails, get ready, because the change starts now. Pillar number 1, emotional scarcity. If you want to be valued, you need to stop being predictable. The human mind automatically values what is rare, scarce, and hard to achieve. When you become emotionally more selective, not for the sake of playing games, but because you are truly focused on yourself, the impact is brutal. Let's imagine 2 notifications on your wife's phone. One from you with a long text, affection, and 1,000 questions to start a conversation. The other from a guy who answers when he can, without rushing, directly and without seeming desperate. Which of these 2 generates more interest? Which of them will she try to impress? When you stop being a free giver of attention and start being someone who values their own time, something magical happens. She starts to wonder what's going on. She starts to miss you. She starts to seek your presence. This isn't manipulation. It's self-esteem. It's knowing your worth. I'll tell you about a student who was always chasing after a woman who treated him like a friend. He sent messages every day, was always available, did everything, until he applied emotional scarcity. He disappeared for a few days, took a long time to respond, and didn't seek contact. In less than 2 weeks, she came after him, asking if everything was okay, asking to see him. The difference was not in her. It was in his posture, in the energy he began to emanate. That, my friend, is magnetic. Now take a hard look. Where in your current interactions are you being emotionally needy? Where are you sacrificing your own self-worth in an attempt to please someone? Identifying this is the first step. Pillar number 2, intentional masculine polarity. The attraction between a man and a woman is not born from similarity, but from opposition. Feminine energy instinctively seeks the firm presence of masculine energy. And we are not talking about rudeness or domination, but about the essence of a man who knows what he wants. The mistake many people make today is trying to be too neutral. They are afraid of appearing invasive, afraid of taking a stand. The result, they become passive, confused, and indecisive. And then they wonder why she lost interest. Well, because you stopped emanating what she naturally seeks. Being truly masculine means being direct, firm, and trustworthy. It's not about shouting or giving orders. It's about having direction. It's about suggesting a meeting place and taking the lead in simple decisions. It's about showing that you know where you're going, that you're in control of your own life. Next time you set up a date, instead of asking her where she wants to go, say confidently, "Let's go to such and such, a place on Friday at 8. You'll enjoy it." That's leadership, that's polarity. And it makes her feel safe to relax and be feminine. I'll give you a real example. A participant on the program, who always left decisions in the hands of his wife, began to change his stance. He took the lead in the conversations, began to firmly suggest meetings, and remained calm and focused. The woman, who had previously been indifferent, said, "It's so nice to be with someone who knows what they want." He didn't become another person. He just stopped repressing what already existed inside him. And that, my brother, changes everything. If this content is making you reflect, comment below with the word magnetic, just so I know that you are connected and committed to your evolution. Pillar number 3, strategic detachment from the result. This part is gold. You know that desperation to make it work. That anxiety when you talk to a woman and already imagine dating, marriage, children. Well, that destroys any chance of truly attracting her. Women have a very sharp radar to detect when a guy is desperate. When you come at her with that energy of need, her natural reaction is to pull away. The secret? It's not to be attached to the outcome. It's not that you don't care. It's that you don't depend on it. When you approach a woman lightly, without creating expectations of where it will lead, you exude confidence. You are not begging for validation. You are living in the moment. Authentic presence, my friend, is irresistible. A powerful exercise I teach is the practice of abundance. For 30 days, talk to attractive women without the intention of picking them up. Just talk without expectations, without attachment. The results are amazing. You stop acting like someone who needs and start acting like someone who chooses. There was a guy who, after 2 weeks of doing this, had more contacts, more dates, and best of all, he was at peace. For the first time, he said, "If it doesn't work out, that's okay. I know there are others." And guess what? When he stopped chasing, that's when they started chasing him. Think about it now. How much of what you do today is motivated by fear of rejection? How much of your energy is being spent trying to hold back what should be flowing naturally? When you understand that you don't need any specific woman, you will realize how desirable you become to many. And here comes pillar number 4, purpose above all. This one is the icing on the cake. Women are attracted to men who are following a path, who have a greater mission than simply having a relationship. Whether in music, business, sports, art, the focused man shines. The problem is that many people put women at the center of their lives, and then everything loses its shine. When your main focus stops being winning someone over and starts developing your full potential, you become a magnet. Not because you force anything, but because your energy speaks for you. I met an engineer who had been floundering on apps for years, spending hours chasing validation. When he redirected that energy into an innovative project at work, everything changed. He started making professional advancements, and suddenly he said, "Women who had never noticed me before started approaching me." That's it. Purpose is what makes you magnetic on a deeper level. Not to impress, but because it's impossible to ignore a man who knows what he wants and is focused on achieving it. In the next 21 days, I challenge you to do this. Redirect 80% of the energy you spend thinking about women to yourself. Go to the gym, read, learn, create, build something. Not for them, for you. And they will come as a consequence. So, warrior, are you going to keep playing the game like you always have? Or are you going to finally take control? A colleague at the office who had barely exchanged words with me decided to invite me for coffee. It felt like I had access to hidden ability. How many hours of your day do you invest in your personal development versus the time you spend seeking approval from women? This simple question can completely redefine your trajectory. If you're still here, absorbing each concept as if something were awakening within you, be sure to activate the bell to be notified as soon as I publish the continuation of this material, and send it to that partner who deep down you know needs to hear this. The fifth and most impactful pillar of the power of attraction is what I call unshakable emotional independence. It represents your shield against emotional blackmail, psychological games, and harmful relationships. A huge number of men find themselves trapped in a constant need for emotional validation. Their emotional state fluctuates depending on whether or not they receive attention from a woman. An ignored message is enough to ruin your mood. A simple compliment can put you on a high. This emotional roller coaster is deeply discouraging. Emotional independence means that your inner balance is not shaken by external factors, especially female approval. You remain firm and calm even if she suddenly changes her behavior. This solidity is so unusual in modern men that when a woman meets him, she feels intrigued and inevitably attracted. But how can you achieve this emotional stability? First, through perception. Notice how your mood changes when you receive or do not receive signs of validation. This simple awareness creates a space between your essence and your automatic reactions. Second, consciously exercise your composure when faced with stimuli. If she takes a while to respond, notice the urge to feel anxious or insecure, but choose not to give in to those feelings. If she challenges your boundaries, notice the urge to give in to please, but stay centered, calm, and firm. Third, cultivate sources of inner validation. Your identity and self-worth should not depend on female judgment. They must be based on your convictions, achievements, and self-view. One of the most striking cases I have seen was that of a 42-year-old man trapped in an extremely toxic relationship. His partner used emotional tricks, threats of breaking up, constant comparisons, and calculated provocations. Why did this work? Because she knew he was emotionally dependent. After implementing emotional independence practices for 2 months, the dynamics of their relationship were completely transformed. When she first tried to use a threat of separation as a weapon, instead of reacting in despair, he responded calmly. "I understand how you feel. If you think this is what's best for you, I will respect your choice." No crying, no begging. The result, she abandoned that manipulative strategy. In fact, the entire relationship underwent a new equilibrium. Half a year later, she admitted, "You've become a different man. I've never felt as safe and attracted as I do now." Emotional independence not only attracts, but also protects you from abusive relationships and psychological manipulation. It may even be the most crucial skill you can cultivate in your journey as a man. Have you ever noticed how intensely you react when a woman you like shows disapproval? This is perhaps your last barrier to freedom in relationships. Let's make a connection between the concepts. The 5 fundamentals of magnetic attraction work together to shape an irresistible masculinity. The first is emotional scarcity. Learn to value your time and energy. Be judicious with your attention. Next, we have the purposeful masculine polarity. Develop attributes such as assertiveness, presence, and determination, but without attachment to the outcome. Free yourself from the need to control outcomes. The third foundation is the primary masculine purpose. Make your personal mission the center of your existence. Don't put women in that role. Fourth, unshakable emotional independence. Establish an inner strength that is independent of external acceptance. When these 5 aspects are aligned, not only does your reality and relationships change, but your entire experience as a man is profoundly transformed. But let's be realistic. This evolution doesn't happen instantly. It's a gradual and continuous adjustment. You may slip up. old patterns will try to creep back in. What really counts is your direction, your commitment to constant improvement. The essential question now is, which of these fundamentals are you going to start practicing actively? Which one connects most with your current situation? Leave a comment below with the pillar that resonated most deeply with you. And if you feel that this content could be a turning point in another man's life, share it. Your initiative could be a turning point for someone. There is a sixth factor that has not yet been mentioned, and it may be the most decisive of all. It is what separates the men who truly change their lives from those who merely consume information without taking action. I'll be talking about this exclusively with my subscribers in the next episode. If you haven't already, now's the time to sign up. Over the years of observing men who have applied these fundamentals, I've noticed a consistent pattern. Not only have their romantic interactions changed, but their entire identity has taken on a new form. They became more productive, more confident, more focused in every aspect. Women stopped being an obsession and became a valuable addition to their lives. My guarantee is straightforward. If you apply these principles for 3 months with discipline, not only will your love life be different, your connection with yourself will be elevated to a new level, and this is, in fact, the true metamorphosis that a man can achieve. Let's delve deeper into the first fundamental, emotional scarcity. This is not about feigning disinterest as a manipulative strategy. It is about an authentic change in the hierarchy of your priorities. If you are always available, sending non-stop messages, canceling appointments just to see her, what you are saying, even without words, is, "My time is not that valuable. My priorities are secondary." True emotional scarcity begins with a simple reflection. If I were a high-value man with a clear direction and multiple possibilities, how would I distribute my emotional attention? It certainly wouldn't be by endlessly pursuing a single woman who shows little interest. Implement the following habits over the next 14 days. Re-evaluate your recent interactions. See how many messages you send versus receive. If you find yourself putting in more effort than she does, it's time to reverse that pattern. Set firm boundaries around your presence. Men with a mission have commitments, schedules, and priorities. Their routine is not an empty space waiting to be filled in at any opportunity. When she proposes a date that interferes with your important activities, even if it's a workout or reading, stick to your initial plan. Use shorter responses. Many men try to win you over with long messages, trying to show intelligence and interest. In practice, this communicates overexertion. Short, direct responses, with occasional strategic gaps, increase mystery and attract attention. One of my mentees applied emotional scarcity with a vengeance. Before he would respond immediately to any message at any time, we established a new rule: no response before 3 hours, regardless of the message. The first few days were difficult. He was afraid of appearing disinterested, afraid of losing her. On the 7th day, she said, "You look different, more focused." On the 10th day, she initiated deeper conversations herself. On the 16th day, she suggested they meet up, something she had never done before. The psychological explanation is clear. When you make yourself less accessible, she has to work harder to get your attention. The whole dynamic changes. Let's now explore the second foundation: deliberate male polarity. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of modern relationships. Modern society insists that men and women are equal in every way. In terms of rights and worth, yes, without a doubt. But in terms of psychology, desires, and behaviors, there are fundamental differences that cannot be ignored. The polarity between masculine and feminine, the natural tension that creates attraction, is the basis of any true romantic relationship. When you neutralize your masculine essence to appear harmless or neutral, you also eliminate the spark that generates desire. Being a man with authenticity is not about dominating or imposing. It is about strength of presence, clarity of decision, direction, and purpose. It is this posture that makes room for femininity to flourish. How do you start developing this masculine polarity? Through daily actions. When setting up a date, avoid vague questions like, "What do you want to do?" Instead, propose, "Let's meet at 8 p.m. at that new cafe on Rua Augusta." They say their espresso is the best in town. Making decisions confidently without being authoritarian is deeply attractive. In conversations, opt for firm statements rather than vacillations. Compare. I think this policy may be a bit problematic with, the current policy is flawed for these reasons. The latter demonstrates conviction, and that has a natural magnetism. Physically, it is essential to refine your posture, intensify eye contact, and strengthen your presence. Non-verbal communication conveys more about your masculinity than any speech could ever convey. Keep your shoulders back, your chest open, your gestures intentional, and your voice emitted firmly from your diaphragm. These details may seem trivial, but they convey instinctive confidence. A participant in one of the programs had the habit of following his partner's every suggestion, believing that this showed affection. In practice, she felt overwhelmed by having to make all the decisions. When he began to offer leadership, not in an authoritarian way but with firm direction, the dynamic between them changed completely. She reported feeling like a burden had been lifted. Now I can relax and trust you. When handled well, masculine polarity does not oppress feminine freedom. On the contrary, it creates the necessary space for her to expand without having to carry the weight of directing the relationship alone. The third principle, intelligent detachment from results, is probably the most revolutionary when incorporated into daily life. Most men view interactions with women as a negotiation, investing time, energy, and resources with the hidden expectation of obtaining some kind of return, be it emotional or physical. When this expectation is not met, intense frustration arises, often accompanied by resentment and anger. These emotions are easily perceived and have a highly repellent effect. Being detached from the outcome means truly valuing the present moment without anticipating a specific progression. You give yourself completely to the now, without anxiety about what might happen next. This does not translate into coldness or disinterest. On the contrary, it allows for a more genuine connection, because there is no constant pressure to measure the other person's reciprocity. The most effective exercise for cultivating this type of detachment is what I call the practice of extreme abundance. For 1 month, commit to doubling the number of interactions with women. But there is a crucial point. After each conversation, mentally release any expectations. Avoid mentally revisiting the conversation, interpreting signs, or imagining what will happen next. Simply enjoy the moment, and at the end, let go of it completely. This practice teaches you, on a physiological level, that there are infinite possibilities, undoing the scarcity mentality that fuels anxious attachment. A 29-year-old man was experiencing severe social anxiety due to several rejections. Each new approach was burdened with the weight of past failures. After just 3 weeks of practicing abundance, his story was transformative. For the first time in a long time, he said, "I no longer get caught up in every interaction. I don't seek validation with every gesture or word." The result? More contacts, more dates, and more meaningful connections than he's had in his entire adult life. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your social fear stems from fear of rejection? How much of your current approach is based on trying to make the most of every situation because you're afraid there won't be any other opportunities? This scarcity mentality is perhaps your greatest enemy. The fourth pillar, the essential masculine purpose, is the turning point where superficial change turns into a total restructuring of existence. Men without a defined mission end up trying to fill this void by constantly seeking female approval. They make winning and maintaining relationships their main goal. This creates a relationship of emotional dependence that is, by nature, unattractive. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are on the move, focused on something bigger than romantic relationships. This preference has evolutionary roots. A purposeful man demonstrates an aptitude for providing, protecting, and leading, traits that have been valued since the dawn of humanity. Discovering your ultimate purpose begins with a powerful question. If all women disappeared tomorrow, what would motivate me to get out of bed? What would I want to create, build, and accomplish? The answer reveals your true purpose. It could be related to your career, artistic creation, entrepreneurship, social causes, intellectual, spiritual, or physical growth. The specific content of this purpose is secondary. What really matters is the intensity with which you commit to it. A 34-year-old client had turned the pursuit of relationships into a quasi-professional activity. He spent about 20 hours a week on apps, strategies, and approaches. However, his results were mediocre. We redirected all that energy into an entrepreneurial project he had been putting off. In just 3 months, his venture began to bear fruit, but the biggest surprise was his love life. "I'm so focused that I barely have time for apps. Interestingly, women in my professional circle have started approaching me, suggesting dates. It's as if they sensed that he now has something more important going on. This is the paradox of attraction. When women are no longer his main focus, his attractiveness increases exponentially. From now on, I propose a challenge. Honestly record how much time and energy you dedicate to thinking, planning, or chasing women, and then reallocate some of that energy to your life purpose. It doesn't have to be radical. Start by redirecting 25% of that focus. In 2 weeks, increase it to 50%. In a month, reach 75%. If this content resonates within you and reveals how much you missed by not knowing these principles before, send this video to that friend you know needs to hear it. Sometimes a single insight at the exact right moment can completely alter someone's trajectory. The fifth foundation of magnetic presence is unshakable emotional self-sufficiency, your defense against manipulation, games, and toxic relationships. Healthy male emotional vulnerability is becoming more accepted these days, which is a significant development. However, there is a fine line between legitimate vulnerability and unhealthy emotional dependence. Being emotionally self-sufficient means that your inner well-being is not determined by external approval, especially from women. You are not influenced by the mood swings, attitudes, or opinions of others. Your stability is internal and constant, regardless of what is happening around you. This characteristic is so rare today that when a woman meets a man like this, it is like a magnet, irresistible and deeply striking. Building this self-sufficiency involves 3 main steps. First, identify your emotional triggers. What female behaviors throw your inner state off balance? Ignored texts, sudden cancellations, jealousy tests? Simply identifying these patterns creates a healthy distance between you and your instinctive reactions. Second, adopt daily emotional self-regulation practices. Meditation, controlled breathing, intense physical exercise. More than just healthy routines, these practices strengthen your nervous system to withstand emotional stresses. Third, and most important, reframe your identity so that external approval is desirable but not essential. Your value needs to be rooted in your values, accomplishments, and how you see yourself, not in how well you please others. A 39-year-old client was trapped in a destructive pattern of withdrawal and pursuit in a relationship. When she pulled away, he would try to get closer in an exaggerated way. Lots of texts, unexpected gifts, intense declarations. Each cycle only widened the gap between them. After 3 months of working on her self-sufficiency, something changed. The next time she pulled away, he calmly responded, "I understand that you need space. I'm here when you want to talk." Most importantly, he turned his energy toward himself. The result? She came back to him after 3 days, surprised by the change. "You used to be anxious, which would suffocate me. Now something changed." The real transformation wasn't in her, but in the way he responded to her actions. That's emotional self-sufficiency in action. The combination of these 5 fundamentals constitutes what I call the masculine gravitational presence, a nearly invisible force that naturally attracts without forced effort. You don't have to try to impress or convince. Simply existing in a state of genuine worth is attractive in and of itself. However, it's important to be realistic. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing process of readjustment that requires discipline and a great deal of self-awareness. Old habits will try to reappear. The temptation to revert to old behaviors will be strong. It is in these moments that your determination will be put to the test. The path described here is not for everyone. Many will continue to opt for shortcuts, temporary techniques and gimmicks that offer immediate but superficial results. However, for the man committed to true evolution, these 5 fundamentals offer a roadmap to not only revolutionize his life, but also to rebuild his entire identity as a man in today's world. As we come to the end of this profound and revealing journey, it is essential that we pause for a moment and reflect on what has actually been shared here. The words that have echoed throughout each part of this content were not mere information thrown into the wind. They were constructed to provoke something within you, a spark, an awakening, a shift. You now understand the power of introspection, the value of silence, the strength of letting go, and the beauty of self-reconstruction. These pillars are not just abstract concepts, they are tools of transformation. They are anchors in times of pain, guides in times of confusion, and bridges that lead to a more centered, stronger, and truer version of yourself. The pain of loss, rejection, or abandonment is real. It tears us apart, consumes our energy, and often leads us to act on impulse, in the eagerness to fill the void left by someone who is no longer with us. But today, after all that has been said, you have a map to get through this storm with dignity and honor. You have learned that winning someone back is not just about bringing back a presence, but above all about regaining your own essence, your own value. Understanding that no one is above your inner peace is liberating. Stopping begging for crumbs of attention, stopping living for the other person, abandoning the idea that love has to be painful or sacrificial. All of this changes the game. It changes you. And when you change, the world around you inevitably responds. Each teaching, transmitted, had a purpose to free you from emotional ties, from the illusions that bound you to vicious cycles, and from the limiting beliefs that sabotaged your relationships. It is time to embrace your authenticity, recognize your value, and walk with your head held high without looking back for approval. You no longer need validation from someone who failed to see your light. Your journey is too valuable to be interrupted by someone who decided to leave. Now is the time to make peace with the past, not to relive it, but to free yourself from it. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or accepting the other person's mistake. It means freeing yourself from the emotional prison they created. Reconnecting with yourself is the greatest act of love anyone can perform. And that takes courage. Courage to look in the mirror and face your own flaws, fears, and insecurities. Courage to admit that we haven't always done our best, but that we are willing to learn, grow, and start over. Starting over is a blessing. It is the chance to do things differently, to choose more wisely, to love more maturely, and to live with more purpose. Every tear shed, every sleepless night, every repetitive thought served as fertilizer for your blossoming. Nothing was in vain. The healing process is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong, confident, invincible. On other days, longing, doubt, and fear will knock on your door. And that's okay. The important thing is not to give up on yourself, because at the end of the day, all that really matters is the relationship you build with yourself. Throughout this content, you learn to identify your wounds, respect your time, cultivate your self-esteem, and set healthy boundaries. You realize that self-love is not selfishness, but emotional survival, and that no one can offer what they have not yet found within themselves. You learn to say no without guilt, to prioritize your peace, and to recognize toxic relationships before they take over your life. You learned that you shouldn't beg for love or try to convince someone of your worth. True love is a choice, not an obligation, and respect is the least you can expect in any relationship. Everything taught here was designed to help you reconnect with your essence, with your deepest truth. It was an invitation to abandon the need for control, emotional dependence, and the fear of loneliness. Because in reality, being alone is infinitely better than being in bad company. It's time to rebuild, to look forward with hope, to allow yourself to be happy, even if it means leaving behind what once meant everything. You can do it, you deserve it, and you will achieve it. If this content touched your heart in some way, if it made you reflect, see something from a new perspective, or simply soothed your pain, then it has fulfilled its mission. And if you believe that these words can help someone who is going through a difficult time, don't keep it to yourself. Share. Comment below what touched you the most. I want to know your story, your feelings, your doubts. I want this space to be a safe haven, where men can be heard, welcomed, and guided. Your participation is valuable. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos, like this content if it helped you, and send it to that friend who needs a word of encouragement at this time. Every action you take strengthens this community, and together we can transform lives. Thank you for coming this far. Your presence makes all the difference, and remember, the best is yet to come. See you in the next video.